FNCS Qualifier 2 just finished, and we officially know who will be playing in FNCS semifinals and who made both the upper and lower bracket in the semifinals. And in this video, I'm going to recap the FNCS Qualifier 2 Round 4 and who placed top 10 on both EU and NA, as well as go over who did not qualify to the upper bracket in both of those regions. And we'll have to start from the lower bracket. In this video, I am also going to go over the FNCS semifinals format, just in case you guys don't understand it. So make sure to stay tuned to the end of this video to see that. Now let's get right into the video. Starting with the EU Qualifier 2 Round 4 recap, we have Yanis and Flixie in first place on 352 points. Yanis and Flixie going into FNCS semifinals on top with a pretty solid performance, getting a second place with 10 elims, an 8th place, a first place with 9 elims, a 3rd place with 4 elims, and a first place with 5 elims. So a pretty solid tournament to end the FNCS weekly season and head into FNCS semifinals now. Now quickly going over the rest of the EU top 10. In second place, we have Chap and Khan on 343 points. In third place, we have Cairo and Kidu on 335 points. On fourth place, we have Mappy and Della on 319 points. In fifth place, we have Dharm and Raxi on 316 points. In sixth, we have Sinet and Vanyak on 311 points. In seventh place, we have Itchy and Sakive on 307 points. In eighth place, we have Vagera and Yo-Yo on 299 points. In ninth place, we have Perchawa and Vexy on 290 points. And rounding out the top 10, we have Seti and Cammy in 10th place on 281 points. Taking a look at some of the teams that did not make the upper bracket on EU, the lower bracket looks like it's about to be absolutely stacked. Starting us off, we have the reigning FNCS champs, Swizzy and Putrick, who will be starting in the lower bracket. And we're also going to have Trulex and Chico in the lower bracket, who got second in the last FNCS on EU and also just got 3rd place at the Global Championship. Another team we're going to have in the lower bracket is Misha and Teeny, who got 3rd place in the last FNCS. Then we're also going to have Mongrel and Mr. Savage in the lower bracket after they did not clutch up yesterday to make the upper bracket. Mongrel and Mr. Savage just did not have a good day at all yesterday. They were dying off spawn and also dying end game. So overall, really tough tournament for them. And then as mentioned in my other video, Phaser and King, after not qualifying out of opens, will be in the lower bracket as well. This isn't even the end of the good teams that will be in the lower bracket on EU. There's so many good teams that will have to make the lower bracket run. So we're most likely going to see a lot of teams on EU not qualifying to Grands this season. The fact that the entire top 3 from the last FNCS on EU will have to start from lower bracket is pretty crazy though. Hopefully we see these teams make the run from lowers to uppers and then qualifying to Grands, as a lot of these teams are really good. Moving on to NA, let's get into the Qualifier 2 Round 4 recap. In first place, we have Baka and Pars on 427 points. They ended the tournament on an absolute heater, getting 2 first places with 9 elims, a 5th place with 4 elims, a 3rd place with 7 elims, a 5th place with 8 elims, and a 1st place with 5 elims to end the tournament. Not a single game worse than a top 5 for them to end the tournament. A lot of people have been asking me this season what's happening to Baka and Pars because they haven't seen them on a leaderboard. But Baka and Pars are 100% still here and still one of the best teams on the region. They just had a pretty slow start, and they were also contested in a lot of the Cash Cups this season. So hopefully we see them uncontested heading into FNCS semifinals and FNCS Grand Finals. Next in second place, we have Peterbot and Poyo on 417 points with 91 eliminations. They had a 23 elimination game, 2 17 elimination games, and an 18 elimination game in round 4 yesterday. Absolutely fragging out. This is a very scary duo heading into FNCS semifinals and FNCS Grand Finals. And if they can play consistent in those 2 rounds, I'm expecting this team to be one of the major threats to winning FNCS this season. But moving on to third place, we have Cam and Diminished on 379 points. If you remember my last video I just posted, they dropped a 51 elimination win in Opens, and I said they're one of the underrated duos on NA, and look at them in 3rd place this week in the finals. Quickly going over the rest of the NA top 10, we have Dukes and Threats in 4th place on 359 points. In 5th place, we have Ritual and Reet on 350 points. In 6th place, we have Sphinx and Pump on 345 points. In 7th place, we have Cooper and Miro on 340 points. In 8th place, we have Zukis and Bolts on 336 points. In 9th place, we have Pam Stu and Lawrence on 330 points. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Bryce X and Chubbs in 10th place on 321 points. Now taking a look at some of the NA teams to not make the upper bracket, we have Bucky and Okus, Tahi and Sinted, Death and Polarized, Batman Booga and Rapid, who just got 8th place in the last FNCS, and Kwani and Bila as well. So going into NA FNCS semifinals, we do have some good teams in the lower bracket. The lower bracket will definitely not be as stacked as EU, but there are some good teams that are going to have to make the lower bracket run if they want to make grands, and I think that's very doable, so I don't really count any of these teams out. But moving on, the last thing I want to go over is the FNCS semifinals format and break it down so you guys can hopefully understand it better. 250 teams qualified to the FNCS semifinals this season by getting series points in round 4 of each qualifier session. And after the 2 qualifiers are over, the top 50 teams in series points qualified to the FNCS semifinals upper bracket, and the teams 51st to 250th qualified to the FNCS semifinals lower bracket. No teams have qualified to grand finals yet as of now. In semifinals, there will be 3 sessions of each the upper bracket and the lower bracket, with the first 2 sessions of the upper bracket both being 5 games each, where the winner of each game will advance to grand finals, just like old reboot rounds. So 10 teams qualified to grands from the first 2 sessions. Also in the first 2 sessions, the teams placing 6th to 25th in the upper bracket will stay in the upper bracket, and the teams in the bottom 25 will be demoted to the lower bracket. In the lower bracket, the first session will be a 10-game cap, 3-hour-long session, just like we've been having in these weekly qualifiers. And the top 30 teams after the 3 hours are over will be promoted to the upper bracket for session 2. And if you do not come in the top 205 teams in the first lower bracket session, you will be eliminated from the tournament. The second lower bracket session will be just like the first session, where it's a 10-game cap, 3-hour-long session, and the top 30 teams after the 3 hours get promoted to the upper bracket for session 3. And if you do not come in the top 30 this time, you get eliminated. Next, the third upper bracket session is where things start to change a little bit. This session will have just 3 games, and the top 25 teams after those 3 games will all advance to the grand finals, and the bottom 25 teams will be demoted to the lower bracket for session 3. Then for the third lower bracket session, it will be just 3 games, just like the upper bracket session 3, and also a set lobby, unlike the other 2 lower bracket sessions. And in this session, the top 15 teams after the 3 games will qualify to grand finals, and everyone else will be eliminated. So overall, 10 teams qualified to grand finals from the first 2 sessions of the upper bracket via winning a match. The top 25 qualify in the upper bracket session 3, and the top 15 qualify in the lower bracket session 3. An easy way of understanding this format for me is the first 2 sessions are each 5 games and 5 game winners make grands. Lower bracket session 1 and 2, you are just looking for the top 30 teams to get promoted to the upper bracket. Then for the third sessions, you should remember that each the upper and lower session are 3 games. So session 3 equals 3 games. And in uppers, the top 25 qual, and in lowers, the top 15 qual. And that's what makes up the grand finals lobby this season. Now, I've seen some people saying that the lower bracket makes it easier to qual, and people should just try to wait in the lower bracket for session 3 since it's the easiest. But there's nothing wrong with being in uppers and having more chances to qualify to the grand finals, regardless of how easier the lower bracket may seem. Now, I do hope this breakdown made some of you understand the format a bit better for FNCS semifinals, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe with noties on to never miss an upload about a recap or competitive news. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like on it as well so it gets pushed out to more people. If you guys have any questions about the format for semis, make sure to comment them down below and I'll be sure to answer you guys. Thank you all for the support on the videos recently, and thank you for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.